Ash Ketchum is having the time of his life, enjoying a well-deserved vacation on the stunning beaches of Alola. With Pikachu, Mr. Mime, and his mom by his side, it seems that life couldn't get any better. Well, it always does. Little does Ash know that his peaceful vacation is about to take an unexpected turn. He comes across a Pokemon school and learns about the existence of Z-moves, a battle mechanic exclusive to Alola that enhances the base moves of Pokemon. After an enchanting encounter with the Melemele Island guardian Tapu Koko, Ash decides to stay in Alola to learn more about Z-moves. Here in the Pokemon school, a guy named Professor Kukui handles the class that Ash is in. With Lily, Lana, Mallow, Kiawe, and Sophocles as his other students, Professor Kukui is a nice, level-headed, and upbeat guy who has a vast understanding of Pokemon. After Ash declares that he's going to stay in Alola, Professor Kukui allows a young trainer to live with him in his house. Ash arrived in Alola with his family, but he's now about to build a new one, and most importantly this time with a dad to call his own, a father figure whom he'll always look up to his stay in Alola and beyond. Professor Kukui has a friend Rockruff who lives with him. He never caught the little puppy, so after noticing that Ash and Rockruff have developed a special bond, he encourages Ash to catch it. Professor Kukui would often take his students to some fun and wild adventures to expose them to many different facets in the world of Pokemon. One time he teams up with Principal Oak, Professor Oak, Misty, and Brock so that the students could visit Professor Oak's lab in Kanto and compare the regional variations of certain Pokemon. This is then followed with a trip to Cerulean Gym, where his students feast on the sight of two astounding Mega Evolutions versus Z-move battles. Witnessing these breathtaking battles only ignites Kukui's heart to manifest his childhood dream, and that is to create Alola's first official Pokemon League. Later on, the presence of Ultra Aura is detected on Melemele Island, thanks to the arrival of Nebby. Because of this, Professor Kukui meets Professor Burnet, an esteemed Pokemon researcher who is currently studying Ultra Wormholes. Professor Burnet was even awarded as the Alola Woman of the Year for her research, so she's definitely an interesting one. As the Ultra Wormhole research continues, Lusamine is abducted by Nihilego into the world. Kukui takes his students, aka the Ultra Guardians, to the Altar of the Sune to provide assistance to Lily and Gladion, who are on their way to save their mother. However, Kukui suddenly receives a phone call from none other than Professor Burnet, who's in a sticky situation. She's outnumbered by a family of Jangmo and Hakamo, who threaten to attack her and her partner Munchlax. Being the man of men that he is, Kukui comes to the rescue and saves her using his trusty bravery, warding off the Jangmo and Hakamo. When the two professors head to the Altar of the Sune, they learn that Ash and his friends have already gone through the Ultra Wormhole and into Nihilego's world. With that, Kukui and Burnet decide to stay behind to do more research and wait for when the children return together with Lusamine. With just the two of them in the Altar of the Sune, we can't help to think that they probably spent quite a long time chatting and getting to know each other. And in the process, both professors have started to develop feelings of romantic love for one another. As their love continues to grow stronger, Kukui decides that he's finally going to ask the biggest question ever said in the Pokemon anime. He and Burnet are just having a nice time enjoying the sunset by the beach, when Kukui pulls out a Pokeball which houses his beautiful engagement ring and asks... This leaves Burnet blushing in total shock, excitement, and emotional fulfillment. The scene cuts off before she could even say yes, but we already know the answer because right before Kukui asks the question, Burnet already gives her answer. A few days after the engagement, Kukui's students plan a special surprise for him and Burnet. It's not a big deal, they just literally arrange their entire wedding. Professor Kukui and Professor Burnet's wedding is one of the most iconic moments in the Sun and Moon anime. It's a rare event when Pokemon depicts a story of romantic love, and they handle this one so splendidly. For one, we get to see Professor Kukui in a shirt. The beautiful couple walk down the aisle, fronting the Melemele Ocean, with Principal Oak as the wedding officiant. They have their exchange of wedding rings, lighting of candles, cutting of cake, couple's first dance, and wine ceremony. Or, in this case, orange juice ceremony. And just like that, Kukui's family of just him and Ash is now a family of 3. Everybody's having a great time at the wedding, and it's awesome to see a lot of Alola characters together in one place. Even the trader Faba is here, who turns out to be a big fan of Kukui. Not Kukui the professor, but Kukui the Masked Royal. That's right, Professor Kukui is the Masked Royal, heralded as the strongest trainer in Alola. He keeps his identity a secret by wearing a mask every time he comes out on stage. In a battle royale, a 4 Pokemon battle it out a la wrestling style, and the last Pokemon standing wins. The Masked Royale signature Pokemon is his Incineroar, who currently has an undefeated record in Battle Royal. When Kukui's students visit the Battle Royale Dome, the Masked Royal invites Ash, Kiawe, and Sophocles in the Battle Royale with him. The Masked Royal wins easily, but only pumps Ash's Litten up. So after a few days, the Masked Royale shows up to Ash by the beach to have a Pokemon battle. This causes Ash's Litten to evolve into Torracat. The battle ends in Incineroar's victory, but from this point on, Kukui's Incineroar and Ash's Torracat are officially rivals. The Masked Royal is a force to be reckoned with because despite people's attempts to beat him to the point of playing dirty and ganging up on him, he always comes out on top. The funny thing about the Masked Royal thing is Professor Burnet is a huge fan of his. She's really in for a big surprise. Every time Kukui shows up as the Masked Royal, he would often make excuses as to why he couldn't go with Burnet to watch his own battle. Until one day, Kukui couldn't find an escape from Ash and Burnet, who really wanted him to go to a handshake event with the Masked Royal. So what he does is he asks his childhood best friend Mullane, a favor that he could cosplay as Masked Royal instead. However, backstage as Mullane is prepping to dress up as the Masked Royal, Faba and James, who are big fans of the Masked Royale, catch him. Faba claims that Mullane is an imposter, so he and James tie him up, steal the mask, and Faba instead shows up as the Masked Royal. He battles Mad Magmar, who seeks revenge after the Master Royal defeated him last time. No one's really convinced with Faba's cosplay as he's easily defeated by Mad Magmar. Soon after, Mullane escapes, turns off the lights, which gives Kukui the opening to switch with the real Master Royal, light up the entire stage, and once again defeat Mad Magmar. Now, one might wonder why was Faba so adamant that Mullane was an imposter? Well, that's because during the whole Necrozma arc, Kukui and Faba had to battle versus Gozu, an elite officer of the Meteoroid Matrix. His Mega Aggron manages to defeat both Kukui and Faba's Pokemon, so Kukui is forced to send out his Incineroar. They perform their signature Z-move Malicious Moonsault, a move he usually uses to finish his opponents off in battle royals. At this point, it's blatantly obvious to Faba that he's the Master Royal, so Kukui discloses to him a little secret that makes him promise not to say a single word about it. Yes, Faba of all people was the first person besides Mullane to know that Master Royal's true identity. Just before the Alola League Stadium is finished, Team Skull storms into the Pokemon League with their leader Guzma. Guga hates Kukui and says that Alola never needed a Pokemon League in the first place. His mission is to destroy the Pokemon League that Kukui has built. This unwarranted hatred for Kukui stems from the early days as apprentices of Kahuna Hala. Guzma developed ill feelings towards Kukui, and he left his trainings with Hala while Kukui decided to stay. Ash challenges Guzma to a battle, which Kukui referees. Unfortunately, Guzma destroys Ash, only increasing his threat level and possible damages that he could do in the Pokemon League. Before the league, Ash and his Torracat are accidentally transported back in time by Celebi. They land at a time when Kukui was only 5 years old. Little Kukui is friends with a Litten, which originally belonged to his parents, and together they would love to spend time exploring the forest and hang out with wild Pokemon, most especially a Totem Trevenant. When Ash meets Little Kukui, he shows off his skills in using Z-moves, prompting Kukui to nickname him as the Move Kahuna. Ash calls him Rory because of his Incineroar hat. Kukui challenges Ash to a battle which Kukui easily loses. They spend the day with the other Pokemon in the forest, and this timeless encounter only inspires Kukui to pursue his dream of entering the Island Challenge and becoming a Pokemaster 2, copying the Move Kahuna's dream, even if he doesn't even know what that means. Ash is suddenly transported back to the present, but Kukui never forgets about his idol, the Move Kahuna. But we're uncertain if he recognizes Ash to be the same person he met when he was little. Not long after, Kukui's dream of building the Alola Pokemon League has finally come to fruition. It takes place in the Manalo Stadium, a humongous floating structure near the Aether Paradise. Alola is all about sharing and togetherness, so for the very first league, everyone in Alola is invited to participate. Professor Kukui also announces that the champion of the Alola League will get to battle the Master Royal in an exhibition match, so a lot of people are hyped to join in. Kukui watches as 151 trainers battle out in a battle royale to start the Alola League. One by one, trainers are eliminated until only 16 remain, and that includes all of Kukui's students as well as his old rival Guzma. Ash and Guzma make it all the way to the final four, where they face off in a 2-on-2 battle. Both trainers have a business in battling Kukui after they become champion, but it's Ash who settles the score and moves on to the finals. Right before the finals, Ash's Melton evolves into Melmetal and learns a new move. And being the Pokemon moves expert that he is, Kukui names Melmetal's new move as Double Iron Bash. In the final round, Ash narrowly defeats Gladion, crowning him as the first ever champion of the Alola League. The Master Royal awards Ash the trophy, but a group of Guzzlords suddenly show up in the world, so the Master Royal and the others work together to send Guzzlord back into the Ultra Wormhole. Coincidentally, Ash's Naganado also arrives in the scene. It lends its power to the Master Royal, and together with Ash and Pikachu, they use a double Gigavolt Havoc and blast the Guzzlord back to its world. The impact of the collision causes the Master Royal to lose his mask, revealing that he actually is Professor Kukui. With that, Kukui's biggest secret has finally been revealed. Professor Burnet especially could hardly fathom that she's actually married to the Master Royal. The next day, Ash and Kukui have their long-awaited exhibition match, and since everyone and their mother now knows about his true identity, Kukui decides to battle as himself rather than the Master Royal. It's a monumental battle of the father-son duo, the two strongest trainers in Alola. The battle begins with a fiery battle between Incineroar and Torracat. Despite Ash's biggest strategies of catching Incineroar off guard, this Pokemon is superbly trained for battle royals, so it's got no blind spots. It's clear that Incineroar is in control of this battle, so Ash switches out his Pokemon that won in the league, Lycanroc. Lycanroc puts up a better fight against Incineroar, as it takes advantage of the Blast Burn recharge to deal some damage. It even uses one of Ash's classic strategies by grabbing one of the Stone Edge shards to injure Incineroar's arm. Kukui wouldn't just let his ace go down at this point, so maybe to defeat Ash's Lycanroc he needs to switch things up. And by that, I mean taking the battle arena to the skies as Braviary comes in. The Eagle Pokemon slams Lycanroc to the ground with Sky Drop and finishes it off with a super effective superpower. From there, it's a back and forth win and lose between Kukui and Ash. Rowlet soars high in the Battle of the Birds when it Brave Birds Braviary to oblivion. Then it's a battle of the Grassars, but Kukui's Venusaur proves that it's the king of the jungle and Vinelip's the poor bird. Ash sends out Torracat for the type advantage, and this time it burns Venusaur to crisp with a blaze of glory. Next, it's Kukui's Impeleon versus Ash's Pikachu. Despite the type and speed advantage, the mouse Pokemon is overwhelmed, so Ash switches for Melmetal to steal the show, and use the move that Kukui coined Double Iron Bash against him, leaving Kukui with 3 Pokemon. The professor isn't one to back down, so he sends out Incineroar again to finish the job with Melmetal, evening out the score. That's the first half of the masterpiece of a battle. The second half is even more insane. It begins with Kukui's Lucario versus Ash's Naganado. The battle is infested with awesome moves and multiple clashes between two powerful Pokemon. Just when you think a Pokemon faints, it stands right back up. In the end, Naganadel traps Lucario into blocking X's, or when in reality it's going to use Dragon Pulse to finish it off. Afterwards, it's been decided by Kukui and Ash that it's time for the ultimate showdown between their fiery cats. The pride of these two Pokemon are on the line, so both parties battle it out like they've never done before. This is honestly the most intense battle we've seen between two fire types, only rivaled by Charizard and Blaziken. Incineroar and Torracat unleash one fierce attack after another until it's time to use their Z moves, Inferno Overdrive. The Z moves clash into each other, and both cats enter the gigantic ball of fire to execute their finishing moves. When the flame burns out, Kukui's Incineroar is the first to go down, finally ending its incredibly impressive win streak. As for Ash's Torracat, it uses all of its remaining energy to evolve into Incineroar, and then it's unable to battle due to exhaustion. Kukui is down to his final Pokemon, but before he can send it out, Tapu Koko arrives and interrupts the battle. Seeing Kukui battle Ash has really pumped Tapu Koko up, and it insists to be Kukui's final Pokemon to finish the battle of all battles. Tapu Koko puts his full trust on Kukui, and together they aim to take down the young prodigy of Palatown. Their first opponent is Naganadel. The Ultra Beast may be strong, but the Guardian Deity proves that its legendary status and dominates the battle. Kukui's final opponent is Pikachu. Both Pokemon waste no time at showcasing their speed and special attacks as two electric types, but after a series of back and forth attacks, the other three Tapus arrive, and together with Tapu Koko, they sing in harmony and bless the entire stadium with their glittering skills. Suddenly, a Taphonium Z floats towards Kukui's direction, a Z crystal believed to only exist in ancient myth. It's the Z crystal used to perform the signature Z move of the Tapus. Both Kukui's and Ash's Z moves are recharged, allowing for one more Z move showdown. With that, Kukui and Tapu Koko team up to perform a once-in-a-lifetime Z move, Guardian of Alola, as Ash retaliates with their signature 10 million volt Thunderbolt. This will forever be the greatest clash between two moves in the Pokemon anime history. Unfortunately for Kukui, the power of Alola is in Ash's favor, as a 10 million volt Thunderbolt overpowers Guardian of Alola, ending in Tapu Koko's defeat and Pikachu's victory. This marks the first time since who knows when that Kukui has lost a battle, and it's nothing to be ashamed of because it's easily one of the best, most perfect battles to ever exist. Kukui is incredibly proud of the young man he's nurtured, he thanks Ash for a great battle, and congratulates him on a job well done. Days later, Ash decides that he wants to travel around the world, so he has to say goodbye for good to his island dad and mom in one of the most tear-jerking episodes. The Sun and Moon series ends with Professor Kukui and Professor Burnet expecting their first child, their first one after Ash of course. And thankfully in Pokemon Journeys, we see that Professor Burnet has given birth to a beautiful son named Lei. All those trainings with Ash will definitely come in handy now that Kukui is a dad raising his own son. After the return of Moan, Kukui and his family attend Lusamine celebration, and they all have a fun time together, but that's only the beginning because later on Kukui, Ash, Kiawe, and Gladion are scheduled to engage in a battle royal in the Battle Dome as a send-off to Ash to the Masters 8. After Kiawe beats Gladion, Kukui manages to find an opening and defeat Kiawe. The battle ends in a collision between Malicious Moonsault and 10 million volt Thunderbolt, and as for the winner of the battle, that's always going to be a mystery. Professor Kukui spends the rest of Pokemon Journey supporting Ash from the background, always watching his battles, clearly proud of the kind person that he once raised. And that's it for Professor Kukui's complete history. Professor Kukui is the strongest and best developed of all professors in the anime. He's one of the few people who has an alter ego, and he excels in everything he does. As a professor, as a teacher, as a pro wrestler, as a Pokemon trainer, as a husband, and as a father. He really is a man of men. Everybody likes Professor Kukui. I honestly don't know a single soul who doesn't like him. Not to mention he gave us a top 3 worthy battle, one for the ages. He'll always be the father that Ash never had, and for the aforementioned reasons we thank Professor Kukui for existing in the Pokemon anime. And I thank you for watching until the end of this video, which I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to wear a shirt when you go outside. But for now, it's been your boy Luap, and I'm out. Peace.